Oh, how you going, champions? I've got a Rockman X100 by Tom Schultz, one of their little pocket amp things with effects built in. I've just got it on the bench supply at the moment. Got the triple output supply there because it has a bipolar supply, and that's normally made by a center tap on the 8 batteries there. So 2 sets of 4 center tapped AA batteries, so that gives you plus minus 6 volts with the center to ground. So we're just giving it a quick test. I've done a recap because it had the original capacitors and there's not many on there and they're all pretty low value, so I figured, well, we've got the thing apart, we'll just give it a bit of an update and just check that everything's hunky-dory and healthy. So this has got multiple delay paths using Bucket Brigade devices there. That's the Panasonic MN series chips, and it's also got another one down there, a smaller one. So it's got a, I'll just show you the control panel. I probably should have shown you this before I ripped it apart, but it's got an echo as well as a chorus, individually switchable, and it's also got, you can think of that as the effects, and that's like the amp. So that's like preamp. It's got some compression, it has distortion with some filtering, and it's got a headphone amplifier with 2 eighth of an inch output jacks there. It's got guitar input and an auxiliary input. So let's plug it in. Already plugged it in. Let's plug that into an interface and we'll get some little recordings out of the bugger before I continue with making a power supply board, so you can use this thing with a 9-volt AC input with just like a wall wart, and we'll put some linear regulators there for a plus minus 6 volt rail to keep it happy with modern power requirements, so you're not chewing through batteries or leaving them in there and letting them leak, even worse. So stick with me. Rightio, so we've got the single coil Strat here. We're going straight into the guitar input. We're set to clean 2 setting. The volume's maxed out, the echo is off, and chorus is off. So this is on the echo off setting. And we're going into the Allen & Heath ZI8 as the interface. And I'm just going to mute myself so all you can hear is the guitar. So to just give you a sense of the different effects, it's got a 3-way slide switch there. I'll take it to the center position. Everything needs a bit of a clean up still. So now you've got the echo behind the chorus. So you can hear the repeats happening there because basically it's just a Bucket Brigade chip with feedback happening. So it's not like the reverb pedals, digital algorithms that we know today. There's a very distinct repeat pattern to it. So we'll move on to the echo, chorus off position. So this should be just echo. So that was just the echo. So you've lost that stereo width offered by the delay happening in one channel and not the other. This is a stereo output pedal, which is pretty cool given the time that it was made. So let's just go through the different tones in this setting. So that was the clean 2. Let's go to the clean 1. So that's got a top end roll off to it instead of the very exaggerated top end on the clean 2. So that's more like you'd expect to hear from a traditional preamp. So let's move on to Edge, they call it, Edge. And then the full-on distortion. Let's try that with the chorus. Now the echo in the chorus. Now, just for reference, this is the guitar just going straight into the DI channel, just to know what the clean guitar sounds like with flat EQ. So there you go, that's a little idea of what it sounds like anyway. Alright champions, so here is the finished product. We've got just AC input here. I've put a 2.5mm plug on that so it doesn't interface with Boss type 2.1mm jacks, just so there's some degree of separation there. The guy that owns this owns a studio, he knows what he's doing. And there's my quick and dirty, well not that quick, little bipolar supply board. Got two LM XX06s in there, LM 7806 for the positive rail, 7906 for the negative rail, just a little bit of filtering in there, some diode protection, a little bridge, and yeah, just a little prototype board that just happened to fit perfectly in that little slot. It's got some double-sided foam tape under that, so that's housing it off that little rib. I didn't want to modify the box just in case he did one day want to return it to stock. The battery clip's pretty stuffed anyway, it's really corroded, but the most important part is the bottom battery door, which has some of the contacts on it as well, is missing, and he never had it. So he just wants this for on the studio bench so he can get those cheesy 80s sounds that he loves so much, and they are fun. Let's admit it. So we'll stick this back together, and that's all she wrote. Send her on its way. I've got a 9-volt AC power supply here, which I'm supplying with the job, and hunky-dory, happy days. It would have been a lot easier if I had a little universal board already made up for these, or just general purpose bipolar supply. You can make the circuit board that's got all the spots for the components, and you just change the component values according to what voltage you want. Just change your regulator chip according to what voltage you're aiming for. Change your filtering requirements. Just have a generic board that has all the slots there for all the components, and just pick and choose what you want to install. So that's what I might make next for a little project. When I'm sick or something and have absolutely nothing better to do, bedridden, I'll design a PCB that's just a little universal bipolar supply board that I can chuck in anything and make it very compact. Might even use some more modern regulators, maybe some surface mount stuff, because the 7/8 series in the through-hole TO 2200 format is getting a little bit hard to regularly find. So we'll go with the MC series, or maybe even something a bit fancier, maybe a low dropout, so you can use use a transformer closer to the desired final supply regulated output. That might be a bit more efficient. That's pretty cute. I didn't notice that before. The power light, it's got a little throbbing effect. Throbbing in the 80s. So here's the controls. That's the auxiliary input. That's the echo off, chorus off, and in the middle both of them on. So there's no just clean setting. It's just like you gotta have cheese no matter what, mate. If it's echo off, chorus off, you've at least got one or the other. Constant cheeseburger of some description. There's your, I guess, preamp. Clean 2, that was the real sparkly one. Clean 1, which is a bit more rolled off. Edge, which was mild overdrive, and distortion, which was full on saturation. Sounds a little bit, I wouldn't say tube screamery, but it's got a bit of a round off to the top end. You can hear they've filtered everything above, say, I don't know, 1K, 2K, something like that. I'm not really going to go pulling out the spectrum analyzer for this one, but maybe one day when I don't have 70 jobs in the queue. That's your output voltage, just a 3-way switch. They're all slide switches. So you've got 3 different level outputs, and then just your power switch. That's where you plug your guitar, your Git or your Keyboard into, and that's your 2 parallel phones, the earphones outputs, and they're stereo. As we discussed, it's got stereo effects, which is pretty bloody cutting edge for 1984. I mean, I was built in 1984, and I'm not feeling as fresh as this thing sounds. And on the back there's a little access to a little trim pot, and that changes the input gain. It says -8 dB, +8 dB, and around there it's supposedly unity, or whatever that means, the standard setting. And there's a little belt clip. Here, worn off, is the original power requirements, which it had a stereo, tip ring sleeve 3.5mm jack for the power input. So I guess it had a separate power supply unit that had the regulation within it, and it delivered the regulated outputs already into this thing, whereas we've created a little board to put in there, which you'll see later on. There's a little board hiding in the little battery compartment there, little hidey hole. He's lost the lid off it, so we can't use it with battery even if we wanted to, but there's the circuit board that was the contacts for the AA batteries, 2 banks of 4. They're pretty corroded. There's been some leakage there in the past too, or maybe some moisture ingress, but the only thing that's not great is this thing here was a grounding clip. Now there's foil, aluminium foil, insulated foil on both sides of this, and it's got a little exposed tab on either sides of the clamshell. Now that would have previously grounded both of them, But now there's no real good way of doing that. Now I could go in there, spend another 2 hours on this thing, and it's already way over time. And custom cut a foil backing, and then custom cut a mylar overlay to go on it to be like that one, and make it out of copper, so we can solder to it, because the aluminium stuff you can't solder to. But look, I'm just going to see how it goes. It's pretty quiet. The owner's in a studio. He doesn't care how stuff looks. He'll just wrap the bloody thing in foil if he needs to, and just watch the connector there. But just put it in a metal box. It's earthed. But really, the sounds you're getting out of this thing, for the distortion channel anyway, they're pretty funky. We're not looking for super hi-fi here, and the noise floor, in my opinion, is pretty acceptable. So we'll see how we go, and we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. Anyway, moving on. Now you've seen the guts of one of these. They are pretty impressive little units, and they're worth a fair bit on the second-hand market now. It seems to be someone famous comes out in a guitar mag and says, yeah, all the sounds on that album were this thing. Everyone goes buys them. Like this one with who was it, Def Leppard or someone, I forget. And they're like the Decade amp for Queens of the Stone Age. It was worth $20, and then he said he's used it for all of one of the albums, and now they're like $5 grand. Yeah, we don't follow that kind of crap, do we, around here? We're objective, you know, goal oriented. So let's keep it that way. So take it easy, champions. Have a good one. I'll see you on the next video. Hopefully not too long.